So as explained in the summary video, the key major feature now is that this pipette can act in the way of sucking up, but more than one aliquot at a time. So you can start to build a reservoir within the tip, and you can dispense that reservoir in all sorts of different shaped aliquots. So you can actually make it so that it behaves like an Eppendorf Multipette. And the pipette has a little home as well that you can teleport it back to, so you don't have to keep transferring between tubes. So yeah, it's going to be quite powerful. Opens the doors to a lot of very interesting different implementations. Now, surprisingly, all this really only took a couple of script modifications. Haven't really changed the prefabs at all. The pipette has changed slightly. We've now got an aliquot. So this is just a cylinder, which is just representing the 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 solution inside. It starts its life as pretty much nothing. And we also have this little text mesh pro field on the barrel of the pipette, and that's going to be updated every time there's a pipetting action to tell us what the volume is in the pipette. But everything else here is the same. No changes to the tube prefabs, of course. The only reason why there's a slight difference here being indicated is that I've actually set the volume of the liquid in this tube to be 1000. So that's why at startup you see a little bit more liquid in this tube. The only other little change to the scene is this pipette stand. It's literally a cube with a collider on it. That's all it is. And it has this script that allows the pipette to go to it when it's clicked. So let's actually have a look at that one first. It's actually pretty lazy because it's all of this code here is pretty much an exact replica of the code that was in the pipette guide script, the one that normally directs the pipette to a tube. This time it's directing the pipette to the pipette stand, and it's activated by clicking down on that little cube. So this is pretty lazy stuff on my part, but it does set up the idea that we might have a pipette stand in future. So I didn't just use the pipette action, the pipette guide thing, because I'm figuring that a little bit down the track we'll have multiple pipettes. So no change to tube actions, that's exactly the same. No change to liquid in tube. No change to pipette guide. So the only new thing is some stuff that is on the pipette action script. And here the key thing is that we're just putting a couple more conditions and consequences on the sucking up and the dispensing. So in addition to checking that we've got an active tube and that there's something sensible in the input field, when we click either the suck up or dispense buttons, we check to see that the volume isn't going to get us into trouble. So in other words, that the volume being sucked up isn't more than what's in the tube, or that the volume we're dispensing isn't more than what's in the pipette tip. And then having corrected that, if necessary, then we then do the volume adjust, and we change both the volumes in the tube and in the aliquot. So clearly a really key feature here is that we have an aliquot volume float that keeps us that keeps track of what the microliters are in the aliquot. We have a game object that's going to represent the aliquot. This is just a cylinder which changes size, and we have our text mesh pro field which is going to update what that volume is. So after we've done these shifting around of microliters, we then run this common function, which is to adjust the aliquot, and that just has two parts to it. One is to adjust the size and the position of the cylinder that's representing the aliquot, and the other is to adjust the piece of text that's on the barrel of the pipette. This portion here, adjusting the size and position of the aliquot, that works in the same way that we change the size and the position of liquid in the tube. So pretty simple stuff in the sense that it's replicating themes that we've already seen. And as I said, the really exciting thing about this is that we now have not just this visual appearance of liquid in the pipette, we also have something that's really flexible. It's going to allow dispensing set volumes of a master mix, for example, 50 times over without having to go and refill. So I think that's going to be a major advance.